right, back with the starters into the goods, and our first goodie yesterday, John Schuhmann released his weekly power rankings on NBA.com. Schuh's top 5 this week: Spurs at number 1, Warriors at number 2, Pacers number 3, Heat have fallen to number 4, and the Thunder sneak in at number 5. Biggest drop-off this past week, Pelicans falling 6 spots from number 14 all the way down to number 20. We've had a chance to look it over. I'm sure you guys have done the same over at NBA.com. It's a question I ask you guys every week. Schuhmann hates when we do this.
Sure does.
But we got to nitpick. Is there a team that's a little too high or too low for your liking?
I think the Timberwolves are a little too high at 14. There are too many factors with this team going on that make me believe they're not a playoff team in the Western Conference. 5th best offense throughout the game, but they only shoot 33% in the final 3 minutes of games that are within a few points. They haven't won 3 straight since the beginning of the season. They can't string them together, and they're towards the bottom of the league in isolation execution and pick-and-roll ball handler execution. Again, we know that stat. They're 0-10 in games decided by 4 points or less. A lot of that is luck. A bit of that is execution, but I think just mentally they just can't get it together. And then in this Western Conference, if you're going to give teams, give games away, you're not making the playoffs.
Okay.
There's just too many things going on there that say they're not a good team.
Wolves a little too high for your liking. What about you, Lee?
I got the Clippers too low at number 7. Now, they had a very good week. They only beat, sure, the Magic, the Celtics, and the Lakers. But remember, this is without Chris Paul. And that's why I think they should be slightly ahead of the Blazers, who also beat the Celtics and the Magic, but they also lost to the Sacramento Kings. Now, I mean, you know, you're splitting hairs a little bit at this point, but for me, it's really impressive to see the Clippers just beating the teams they should beat and not like panicking without Chris Paul, not losing, not falling away. They're doing what they have to do, so I would give them a little bit of bonus points for that.
The defense looking a lot better, too, with the Clippers. Talked about that on yesterday's show. What about you, Trey?
If you want to talk about picking nits, get ready for this, because I really want the Houston Rockets, who are at number 9, to move up 1 slot to number 8 and take the Raptors spot. They're both kind of opposites of each other. The Rockets are a top 5 offense and an average defense. The Raptors are basically the flip side of that. But the Rockets have a better record, more wins, fewer losses, a better margin of victory. They played a harder schedule in a harder conference, and they beat the Raptors earlier this year. So it seems to me that that's a couple of good reasons to bump them up from 9 to 8.
Yeah, but do the Rockets have Drake?
I mean, that's a really good point. They don't have Drake.
Schumann's obviously a huge Drake fan.
Yeah, I forgot to account for that.
Yeah, you're right. I'm going to go with the Nets a little too low at number 17 in Schumann's power rankings here. I would have them a little high. I think you could. I feel safe putting them ahead of teams even like the Hawks and the Wolves and possibly the Bulls. So I'd bump them up a couple spots here. The Nets defense has improved. Schuhmann even points it out. They've allowed less than a point per possession through 6 games in January. They're playing in London on Thursday against the Hawks. Should be a fun game. And then they have a huge, I mean, there's like 8 of their next 11 games are at home. So they could really improve on their record. I'd bump them up a little bit in Schumann's rankings.
Schuhmann is good at these rankings, though. I mean,
do you think Schumann's just watching his television screen or the computer ever? He's joining in on the show and just throwing stuff at it?
No.
Yeah, he's upset.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't watch this show.
Yeah, he probably doesn't.